Good morning. It is Monday, November 30th, and this is a little reading lesson and explanation about your assignment today. So, our whole goal for the next week is to analyze Love That Dog. We want to get to the place where we're going to finish that book. That's our goal. And one of the ways that you can analyze a text is by answering questions about it, because answering questions causes you to analyze or really look closely at what you're reading. Okay. But we can't just pick an answer randomly. We have to actually do a few things before we pick an answer to a question. So let's go over that. So the question that we're going to answer is, what conclusion about Jack can you draw from the text? Now I see answer choices here, but I'm not ready to look at the answer choices because I need to analyze this question. I need to read the text and I need to do a few steps. It says, step 1 says, circle the clue words in the question. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pen here, use yellow, use a brighter color, and I'm going to look at my clue words in the question. Now, clue words or keywords are the words that really you want to focus on, okay, that you think are the most important, that would help you really know what the question's asking. Sometimes questions have a lot of words in them, and it's easy to get confused. So, kind of the goal of circling the clue words in a question is to really help you stay focused and not get distracted. So, when I see this word conclusion, I know that's really important. And then about Jack, I think is important. So, what conclusion can I draw about Jack? Conclusion about Jack, okay? That's really the focus, is me drawing a conclusion or coming to a conclusion about Jack, okay? Now, let's look at the second thing that we do. Write the paraphrase version of the question here. Well, I know that when I say a paraphrase version, that means putting it in my own words, making it a little bit shorter and simpler. So if the question is, what conclusion about Jack can you draw from the text? I got to think about that word conclusion. I know that when it says drawing a conclusion, that's an inference. That's something that I can tell about Jack. Okay. Something that a decision I can make about Jack. Something that I know about Jack without them coming right out and telling me. Okay. So I'm going to go to this and I'm going to type my paraphrase question. What can you tell about Jack from this? Because to me, that's the same thing as drawing a conclusion or making an inference. It's what can you tell me about Jack from what we're going to read? So that's me paraphrasing the question or putting the question in my own words in a more simple way. And then answer the question. Well, before I do that, I need to read, don't I? April 20th. Did you mail it? Did he answer it yet? Oh, I remember that he's talking about the letter he wrote to Mr. Walter D. Myers asking him to come to school. So I remember that. April 24th. Months. I see that word months and here and if, they're in italics. So that means I need to really emphasize it when I read it. Months? It might take months for Mr. Walter D. Myers to answer my letter if he answers it. Well, when I think about this, I keep seeing him like asking these questions to his teacher. As I know who he's talking to. He keeps asking these questions about the letter he sent. And here it looks like he's just asking questions about, hey, did you, have you sent it? Did he read it? And how long is it going to take? Okay. Kind of makes me think of like when a kid sends a letter to Santa Claus. Okay. Did you send it to Santa? Did you read it? Has he answered it? And it says months. It might take months for Mr. Walter D. Myers to answer my letter. That's if he answers it. I don't think that Jack was counting on months because there it's like months. It's like you can't believe how long it's going to take. So I'm going to think about my thoughts that I just had. It seems to me like Jack is he's just shocked at how long this is all going to take. And he doesn't even know if Mr. Walter D. Myers is even going to answer that letter. Okay. So I'm thinking about that. And what I want to do now is I want to see which answer choice kind of goes with my thinking about the conclusion about Jack, or what can I tell about Jack from this text, the way I paraphrased it. A, Jack feels like Mr. Walter D. Myers is too busy to come to his school. Well, that's definitely a possibility. He does say, months, it's going to take months, so maybe. B, Jack wants his teacher to contact Mr. Walter D. Myers again. I didn't really say that in here, that he wanted her to message him again, so I don't really think that's it. Jack feels like Miss Stretchberry should take his letter more seriously. I mean, when he's talking to her here, he's more talking about he can't believe it's going to take so long. So I don't feel like that's the best answer. Let's look at D. Jack is really anxious and eager to hear from Mr. Walter D. Myers. Now that makes a lot of sense to me. Like, he's worried about the letter. He really, really wants to hear from him. When we say somebody's eager for something, that means they really, really, really want it bad. Okay. And right here, it might take months if he answers it at all. Did you mail it? Did he answer it? To me, that's like he is very eager to find out if Mr. Walter D. Myers is going to write back. Is he going to come to the school? So even though this is a good answer, I feel like that D is a better answer for this question, because the details that I just read, they more go with, how anxious and eager he is to see if Mr. Walter D. Myers is going to answer. Not really, it's going to take too busy. Now, if he was telling me all the things that he was doing, like he's probably doing this, he's probably fixing his car, he's probably taking care of his kids, and that would tell me too busy. But in these two entries here, and that's the only thing I'm basing it on, are these two journal entries. These talk about how long it's taking him to answer, because Jack really wants to hear from him. So D is really the best choice for that question. Now, let's take a look at your assignments. So you're going to read the entries and you're going to use the strategies to answer his question. Okay? There's only 2 questions. So here's your journal entry here. Now I want you to pay attention to this. It says, you are not answering the question yet. Follow the directions on each sticky note. So here's my question. Okay? Question 1, which detail from the text supports the inference that Jack is discouraged? And discouraged means to feel let down or disappointed. So I'm going to do what it says here. It says circle the keywords in the question. So I'm going to focus on this question just like I did before, and I'm going to use the highlighter to circle words that I believe are truly important to this question. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paraphrase the question. Remember, that means I'm going to write it in my own words. So if you think about what you circled here that you think is really important, then when you paraphrase it, that means you're going to click on the sticky note and you're going to write the question here in your own words. Okay? Think about what the question is actually asking you and put it in your own words there on the sticky note. Now think about how you paraphrase the question. Choose the answer that you think makes the most sense and use the highlighter to show your choice. So, reread my paraphrase. I also got to make sure that I read this text, and this is a longer one, so I'm probably going to read it twice, okay, before I get to the part where I answer the question, and right here are my choices. So that's the first question, and then here's your next question. And again, on this first part, you're not answering the question yet, okay? You're following the directions on the sticky note. Here's your question. Circle your keywords in that question. So circle the words you think are most important. Read your text. Go to your next slide. This is where I paraphrase. Take what you thought about was most important, click on the sticky note, and rewrite the question in your own words there to show that you understand it. Okay, reread this again. Think about how you paraphrased it on this slide, and then try to answer that question. Here are your answer choices. So that is what you're doing for your assignment today. You're only answering 2 questions, okay? The big thing is you have got to make sure you're actually reading this text probably more than one time, okay? So that is your assignment for today. For reading, I hope this helps. And as always, I'll be available if you need me.